Mean Girls, this film, is the musical adaptation of the Broadway adaptation of the movie that I think is based on a book from there. I know Tina Fey is involved in writing. I know this film is brought to us by a dynamic husband-wife directing duo. And I know that this film stars a new cast of characters, right, who are having this adventure. The film is about Cady Heron, who is a newcomer at school. She's from Australia, and she's moved to America, and she used to be homeschooled, but now she has to fit in at a public school where she doesn't know anybody, and she discovers all of these cliques, the artists and the weird kids, right, and the stoners, and then of course there's the plastics, right? These preppy girls who are glitzy and glamorous, don't talk to anybody, and are super mean, and they're led by Regina George, played by Renee Rapp, who is like the most dynamic, the most vivacious, the cruelest of all of them. And slowly, as Cady begins to integrate into the plastic, she discovers that Regina really needs to get hers. All right, it's past due. Everybody at the school knows she's terrible. Somebody needs to get some revenge on Regina George. So slowly, as her and her friends plot to unravel the life of one of our mean girls, she begins to realize that she herself starts to slip into the role of being kind of bad and kind of glitzy, and suddenly has to discover who she is while Regina George is just getting burned for being a bad person. Like I said, have not seen the old one. I'm interested to see what Andy thinks because he has. Andy, what did you think of Mean Girls musical adaptation?
So I think this has a similar problem to The Color Purple in that it's been adapted 4 times. This has gone the same route of first it was a novel, then it was a film, then it was a musical, and now it's a film musical. And so it's a little bit of a victim of its own derivation. I think it's a lot of fun, and the production is spot on. Like the song and dance numbers are really impressive. Like that's where a lot of the good filmmaking, choreography is done well, but the music is just, it's a little lame. It's not catching. You're not going to walk out singing the Mean Girls theme. Um, so and it also it lacks the humor of it's funny, but it's not near as funny as the original. It's missing a lot of that clever nature. The other thing, it's a little bit like these Disney remakes where because you know exactly what's coming and because it's beat for beat, it's hard to get into it because you already know exactly what to expect. There's some things that are updated a little bit, but it's largely the exact same story. I think the production of it is really well, but it falls short, I think, of the original.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. It's an adaptation of an adaptation. It kind of has the same problem The Color Purple had last week. Like The Color Purple we watched is the film adaptation of the Broadway play of the Spielberg film that was based on a book. I think this fundamentally has the same journey of creativity to get to where we're at now. And all the sharpness has been shaved off. It's got this layer of like glaze and polish that softens it up for audiences everywhere, right? Men and women who can afford Broadway play tickets, and then also the rest of us commoners in our vaudeville theaters. And it just ends up feeling really like, I don't know, like it lacks a certain pizzazz. Now, I think you're right. Like that does come out in the way it's shot, the way it's made. Directing duo Samantha, Jayne, and Arturo Perez Jr. do not have a lot under their belt. They have a pretty slim IMDb page. It's a lot of shorts before this, but they're married. They work together. They directed this. I don't know if they are friends with Tina Fey, who got the writing credit on this, even though she didn't write the original book. She wrote the screenplay for this, and I assume she had a hand in writing the Broadway. But I don't know how they landed this, but they do a pretty good job, all things considered. Like the music's pretty good. Lots of good long one-take shots, like with lots of choreography, a ton of background dancers, big set design where they can get it. That stuff's good. It really, I think if I struggled anywhere, it was kind of the stuff between the songs. It wasn't even so much like the music where half of it wasn't toe tapping, and there is a lot of music, and about half of it isn't that good. The plot was a little messy, and I think it's because it's not quite as sharp as that original movie was. From what I've talked to people, it just seems like, I don't know. Did you get that at all? Like, how are our characters compared to Lindsay Lohan and God, yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bit of a shadow. I saw one complaint that the movie's not mean enough. Like that's part of the humor, is that like these girls are really mean and they're really cleverly mean, but it's the exact same names and the same plot. Andrew Rice plays Cady Heron, who was the character played by Lindsay Lohan. um Renee Rapp plays Regina George, who was played by, oh gosh, I can't think of her name now. Not Rachel.
Rachel
Yes, Rachel
McAdams.
McAdams.
I was doing the same thing earlier. I was like, what? Rachel McAdams. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and her performance is so good. And actually, the other plastics are better than Renee Rapp. And I don't think that she's a bad actress. I think her part is just not written very strongly, despite her being like the lead plastic. The other two are actually way more funny. Avantika as Karen Shetty and BB Wood as Gretchen Wieners. I don't know which one is the acting name and which one is the character name almost. Yeah, it's just not as clever. It's not as funny. It's not as mean, which is part of where the heart of the movie comes from, because it's about kind of some friendship betrayal, and those same lessons are there about like pretending to be yourself to be accepted, and the cost of that, and kind of loving yourself in the end. So we still have those same kind of themes. I think a big standout is the kind of outcast characters are also in this, played by Moana herself, Alihi Carvalho,
Tough name.
who sings a lot. Like she. I don't know if she's on Broadway, but she has like a Broadway star voice, and they give her a lot of songs because she's so good. She's definitely a highlight. Yeah, it's a shadow of the original, and it's fine, and they do a good job, but it's just not near as funny.
Well, it's funny. Our two queer side characters are kind of our muses. They open and close the feature with this number about it being a cautionary tale, and then at the end, well, now you've seen what happens when you're a mean girl, whatever. Ali Carvalho and Jaquel Spivey probably play Janice and Damien, and I realized probably during Janice's last big song and dance number, when she's like belting her heart out, I was like, I would rather be watching the movie about this odd lesbian artist and her friend than Cady and Regina George. And like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Like Andrea Rice's Cady is understated for sure. She reminded me a lot of like Elsie Fisher in Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, like blonde and like keeps her hair down and like kind of has like the hollowed out eyes, look like she's tired a little bit. And then over the course of the movie, she gets the glow up, right? Like she gets the sick makeup and the better phone, and she starts failing math, right? Like I get that and that all works for sure. Renee Rapp, on the other side of that fence, she's like, after the movie, I was talking to Christine about it. She's like the principal Ed Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like she starts high and then just gets run down over the whole movie. And I've never seen the original, and apparently that's fundamentally how it works. Like these two characters kind of shift places, and they have this odd kind of foil about them. I totally get that. But yeah, Renee Rapp just ends up really getting beat down and shut out here, and she doesn't have a lot of time to be mean. You're right. Like she's kind of soft a little bit, in the same way that I felt about Mr. The character from The Color Purple. He's the villain, and he's soft gloves a little bit. Like he's bad, but he's presented in a way that's like almost like a Disney villain. Like you're charismatic, and you've got some qualities
Family
about
bad.
you that, yeah, people can enjoy. That you can watch you for 90 minutes. And you're absolutely right. Like her two side plastics, Karen and Gretchen, both way better. And the two side muses, both way better. The new kid, by the way, the new heartthrob, Christopher Briney, plays Aaron Samuels. Cool eyes, doesn't do a lot of acting. I will probably see him as an intern in something in the future, or some young up and comer part. I don't know. Maybe he'll be a Marvel hero at some point. Yeah, like I feel like I liked it fine. I just couldn't help but walk away thinking, does the original do it better? Because like for everything that's lacking here, I can't help but think like the original was memed. The original has like pop culture status, right? A number of stars in the original have gone on to do incredible work. Like I don't know if any of that's here. I don't know if this quite gets over that line. What do you think, Andy? You've seen it.
Yeah, like it. That's part of what is so funny about that original is, you know, they have the same burn book stuff, but there's mean things happening along the way, and it's like you said, it's like this is an attempt of like, well, we want to poke fun at people, but we don't really want to upset anyone, and so we're going to kind of pull it back, and that's not why that first movie works. That first movie works because you're genuinely scared of this group of girls, and everyone wants to be accepted by them so that they are not made targets. And it's just it's a little soft, it's a little kid glove, like you said.
And let me tell you, like, as somebody who hasn't seen it, I've heard this as a hot take from the people I've talked about it with. If your mean girls aren't mean in the first half of the movie, it makes Cady getting revenge on Regina George look worse. It makes her look meaner. Because it's like, I like halfway through the movie, I was like, dude, Renee Rapp is getting a lot less screen time. And when she is here, she's just kind of a victim. Like, because that's what happens in the plot, right? She's super mean, and then people start to get revenge on her. And this movie doesn't give you enough time for that. They just tell you she's real bad with a song and dance number. And then you get to watch her get pushed down a hill for 90 minutes. And that's the movie. Like, weird takeaway. But like I said, I think it's just because it's an adaptation of an adaptation, and like ultimately that's going to come with problems. And I think it's a big claim throwing Tina Fey's name on it. Her name was all over the trailers. She opens the movie with a message: "Hi, I'm Tina Fey. Thanks for coming to Mean Girls." Right? Like, enjoy the movie. Like, and then I actually looked at it as like, oh, she didn't even direct it. She wrote it, and she wrote an adaptation of an adaptation. So they didn't bother putting the director's names on here. They didn't bother. It just
she
plays
wrote
a
the
whole
original.
lot.
That's why.
Okay, so
that's why her
she
name's
wrote
all over it.
The original movie,
right?
But it is based on a book, which she didn't write.
Yes, right.
All right.
Correct.
So yeah,
but she wrote that original movie, and it was a big hit, and it's a classic, and that's why they threw her name all over this.
Yes, it's for sure.
She's the writer for this too. I don't know. I don't know what happened in the last 20 years.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah,
Liz
like it's definitely
soft.
changed. She's in it too. Maybe I don't know. I hear she's
in the original. Like, so she's in the original, and as is Tim Meadows' character, and they're playing their same character. She's a teacher, and he's the principal. Like they. So it's a weird thing because it's a remake, but they're playing their same characters 20 years later.
Well, this also explains, because this film was produced by Faye and Lorne Michaels, right, head of SNL, and I was confused by Tim Meadows being in here because I was like, he's SNL and big sketch comedy alum, right, and Tina Fey's in here. Okay, they must be good friends. And then when I saw his name at the end, I was like, is this an SNL feature? Like, why are they all on here? And then if they're in the original, that makes more sense. Lorne probably had a hand in financing the film. That kind of comes through. Okay. All right. It's just, boy. Yeah, it's like I got to do, I don't know. It's not that I have to do the homework. I'm just fascinated at how Color Purple felt fresh and different, but ultimately like cinematically a little flat. This movie, on the other hand, I feel like it takes advantage of the medium of film, but the script's a little flat. And it's like, neither of them split the difference. So far, my favorite holiday musical has been Wonka. But by a nose, though, because Color Purple's super good. Anyway, we should get to recommendations. Boy, we got a lot of show to move on to. We got to get to Oscar noms. We got to get to the zone of interest. Any other thoughts on this one for recommendations, Andy?
Just real quick, John Hamm barely shows up in this, and he is in that trailer a lot. Like he all his scenes are basically in the trailer, and that is a crime.
I thought that when I was watching the movie, and I realized towards the end he wasn't going to be in it anymore, and I was like, did they shoot more with him and then just lose it? Like it wasn't going to work? Or did they just have him on set for like a half day? Here, wear some goofy pants.
Half hour.
8 lines. Yeah, like he was barely on. Like, dude, it's a bummer. I think maybe there's more deleted scenes of him being a goofy. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, yes, not enough John Hamm, certainly. An odd adaptation. Andy, would you recommend Mean Girls?
I would if you're a fan of the property. If you've seen the original, loved the original, had a good time, I think you'll have a good time with this. If you're a little on the fence, I would say maybe save it for streaming. I think it is really well produced and the performances are good. It's just the writing is a little weak, despite it being Tina Fey, the same person who wrote the original. The dance number, the song and dance numbers are done really well. Like a lot of choreography going into like this. Those sets must have been crazy. The music so the musical is just a little underwhelming. You don't come away singing the songs. I think overall it's a good time. It does go a little long, but again, you're better off going back and watching the original.
Yeah, I obviously haven't seen the original, so I can't say whether or not that would be worth your time. But what I can tell you is, for what's here, Mean Girls is good. Like I said, of the 3 holiday musicals that I've seen, I wouldn't put this one at the top. It would take the bottom spot. It's new, it's from two directors who haven't really done any big features. Like, I get that. It's an adaptation of an adaptation. It comes from an odd space. And yeah, like I don't know if I saw anything in here that I'm gonna see in a meme in 15 years. But like I've seen "Stop Trying to Make Fetch Happen, It's Not Gonna Happen" like in a JPEG for a decade now. Like I understand that there's staying power in like what's here, but I don't know. I think this is fine. I think it's fine, and I would bet when I go back and watch the original, I think I may get a little more out of it. But yeah, Mean Girls is all right, but. Now that we've got the popular review out of the way, now that we've got the review that's going to get people to click on the thumbnail out of the way, now we got to talk about the real film stuff, all right? This is for the people who really want to talk about movies. This is for the people who want to talk about bold cinema, big cinema. And we got to talk about the Oscars. Andy, what do we call this segment?
It's time for the death of cinema.